Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is in the house with Sterling Tompkins once again. How's it going, man?
Good, Ron. I want you to refer to me as Sterling, just because Ron sounds so cool.
You don't want me to use your last name? You just want to be Sterling?
Sterling, yeah. Just 2 S's like you on the beginning.
I love it. Hey, I feel the need to tell everyone, I normally would never chew gum in an interview, but I'm still a little under the weather. I'm trying not to get all phlegmy and everything. I'm told the gum might help, so that's why I got gum in my mouth. Oh. I want to remind everyone, I did the interview earlier this week with Janet Miscavige, of course. Everyone absolutely loved the interview. It got, her channel reached monetization in 1 day. That's awesome. Wow. And I just want to remind everyone, Sterling is the Sterling that we talk about. Sterling is Jenna's brother. By the way, Sterling, I got to tell you, I think of your brother Justin sort of like Bigfoot
and the Loch Ness monster. Yeah.
Some people claim he exists. Some people claim to have actually seen him before, but I think most people are just making him up. I don't know that he exists. I think you and Jen are making him up.
Well, I have a lot of imaginary friends, but no imaginary siblings. I think he's real. I got to be honest with you. I think he's real. He's somewhere. He has been sighted a few times, specifically playing volleyball in Santa Monica from time to time. But that may be it.
I figured he must live deep in the woods with the chupacabra and Shelly Miscavige or something.
My phone's about to go off.
Hey, real quick, I actually have a brand new sponsor, and I just recorded my first ever ad for them last night, and I want to show it real quick. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
All right, cool. Check it out, guys. This is the brand new sponsor of SPTV. Guys, I am absolutely thrilled to be partnering with SPTV's new sponsor, MyHeritage.
That's pretty cool.
I stayed up all night making that ad, so I hope you like it.
You did a good. I was hoping for a different colored shirt, but you did a fantastic job.
I actually had the blue color shirt, and I swapped it out just I don't know, just because.
But you shot the whole thing and then swapped it out. Am I right?
Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly. Now hold on. Now look, I called you out. I called you out last week. I said, hey, for all you guys who said, I don't want to start a YouTube channel, create a channel anyway, so that when you come on, I can at least direct people to it. Now, look, it looks like you've actually had this channel for a long time. You sent me a channel that you have.
Yeah. I was just at one point just putting up fun content of my travels around the world and stuff like that. And yeah, I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up here. I'm going to pull it up. So you got 4 subscribers. I haven't even subscribed yet. So you're going to have 5 immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Instant upstat.
Just instant highest evers. So, okay. So Sterling Tompkins. Oh, you even called it at Leaving Scientology, Loving Life. What a great name.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of complete. You've all got these great channels. You have Janice's with the history, yours with the current content and news and even, personal stories. You're a great interviewer. And so this is, I was thinking my interviews with you guys make my rounds, that I can also talk about the things I've done to diminish the pain, help out, continue life and do those different things. And maybe if I help 1 or 2 people, it's worth it. And plus I love doing interviews. So, there's the selfish reasons for it as well. So thought I would do it. I thought I would enjoy it, and it's your fault. You started the whole thing, but a couple people had mentioned it, and I thought, why not?
Well, so let me ask you, and if you just said this, I apologize, but how do you plan on using your channel moving forward? Are you if we do this, do you want me to send you this video file and you can upload it to your channel, or are you trying to how do you want to use your channel?
I would just when I'm interviewing with the different SPTV networks, I would just simulcast, I guess, my lives, and so you could have that content on there as well. And then I could, if I wanted to do content about, diet, exercise, getting out, doing something different, doing traveling, my experiences there, then I could do something. So it's a mixture of the information, and that may be crazy, that may be stupid. I may get no followers for it, but it's going to be enjoyable for me. I've got the extra time, better than sitting at the couch watching TV. Why not create some content rather than just sit there watching content full time.
That's awesome. And just like I told Jenna, like the same, what I told Jenna applies to you as well. Like so many freaking people know you who, for example, don't know me. Like it's exactly what I said to Jenna. I consider we're part of the same generation, but the people like do they call it a Venn diagram? I don't know. The people like we are all known by so many people, but not the same people necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
So you might have 20 people who pop out of the woodwork who's like, oh shit, Sterling's doing shit. I want to do a chat with Sterling, who would never reach out to me because they don't know me from Adam. They don't know me, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I had, by you asked last week, had I had anyone come out of the woodworks, and I have now. I've had like, at least 5-6 people completely come out of the woodwork. I've had my family members call me. And so it's just been, I don't know. I think the only word is therapeutic to some degree. It's been, and I've enjoyed it. And I did interview with Claire, and I haven't spoken to Claire in such a long time, and it was so nice to talk to her again. She's such a sweet lady.
Did you guys did a Shelly Miscavige chat?
We did, which was interesting because I don't have a ton of interactions with her, but just a few important and nice ones. But it was a good interview. We'll see if she posts it. Hopefully she does.
One thing you and I haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about is you were married to Shelly Miscavige's sister. Like Shelly Miscavige was your sister-in-law. I mean, right?
Right. She was. And I don't want to give up too much on that because it's in the interview with Claire, but she even talks about, because, you talked to Jenna about how it was being a Miscavige. Did she get better treatment, and how did it work for her? And the nightmare situation that was her story. And it is a nightmare. Really, some of the stuff that she talks about is tear jerking. To think that a little girl like that is being put through a sec check and cleaning a toilet. And you know what the worst part of it to me was? She didn't even know why. You didn't do anything that you could correlate this experience to at that time. To me, that's a psychological torture beyond any. Just not knowing. The mystery sandwich of it is just horrible. But so I talk a little bit about how did Suzette, what was her relationship from my experience, because I was married to her for 8 years. How did Shelly treat her own sister? And but I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to explain that whole story. I explained a little bit of it in the interview with Claire. Which is kind of a fascinating piece of information. I do think people really close to people with power, though there were some privileges, I think when air cover, when certain individuals of that family go down, they become open targets. And that's actually what we're going to most likely talk about today, because Jenna has an integral part in that. And I know that she also, when Biddy was removed from her position in 1996, it was open, it became, just let's go after any of the children. Let's investigate them. She talked about her investigation and sec check when Ronnie and Biddy left. She also got investigated when Biddy was removed. I'm not going to tell her story. I don't believe a lot happened, but I do remember when I spoke to her about it, I found out that the very same day I was put on the meter and sec checked, she was too, but she was down in Florida at the time. And so we'll talk about that. Because that would be probably my most horrific experience there. But before we get into all that, I want to say, hey, you got Jenna 9,000 subscribers. I'd be happy with half of that. So if y'all want to get out there and support a Tompkins and see if Tompkins can compete with the Miscavige, I'm up for it. You know what I mean? I'm up for it. Knock yourself out.
Well, you already got about
prove that it's not just the name.
I know, right? Well, you got about 70 subscribers in the last couple minutes.
Hey, my stats are way up.
I saw some people in the chat asking for a link. Guys, Goldie can probably post a link, but if you go to YouTube, this is what you got to search for, either Sterling Tompkins, or you can search the handle at Leaving Scientology Loving Life. Should be pretty easy to find that. Right. So I won't pick your brain about Shelly at all, but I'm curious though, you being married to Shelly's sister, did you feel that helped you at all with David Miscavige or hurt you in any way, or was it more kind of neutral?
Neutral. I don't think it helped me, but the year that I married Suzette was also the year the Lisa McPherson thing happened. So, I would imagine that not being the case, it would have been different a little bit, right? But that was the same year, and as every channel has talked about and discussed, that's when the shit just hit the fan and stuff just went downhill nonstop from then.
I mean, a lot of people have reported that the Lisa McPherson thing was a really like a pivotal change in David Miscavige's personality, his mental state, his propensity to violence. You know, I mean, he was at risk of being criminally charged.
Right. And of course, none of us knew about that at all.
Oh, really?
No. I didn't know anything about Lisa McPherson until after I left.
So you didn't even, so you're just saying that purely with the benefit of hindsight at this point.
Yes, that's right.
So without knowing at the time that the Lisa McPherson stuff was going on, what did you observe?
So one of the first things was, and I think I mentioned this before to you, or maybe mentioned to Claire, but when I got married, he was at the wedding at Gold, didn't come down to the one in LA. Shelly did. But I also noticed that his whole attitude towards me, like I believe he sent me I think I sent him a thank you letter for the gift to him and Shelly, and he responded back something along the line, well, how long are you gone for? When are you coming? You know, like a little bit of a slap in the face about me taking the time to go on a honeymoon, which was 2 days to Catalina, which sucked. It was raining the entire time. It was so bad. But I just noticed a change in his attitude towards me. And from that point on, my relationship with him was never good. And we'll get into today the story I've been kind of saving to talk about just on your channel, which is how and why I left SEMO Gold and got removed to grounds, because you have to arguably do something pretty terrible to get put in grounds. If you look at the company I kept in grounds, all those people, Spike Bush, all those people did something pretty, in their books, dastardly to get there. Spike Bush was, the one that audited Mary Sue Hubbard and knew all of her deepest, darkest secrets. So they put him in grounds just so he would never leave. And so he had a cushy job and he just could do his thing from day to day. Yeah, you could do a video on Spike Bush by himself, but yeah,
it's funny. I mean, I must have seen his name in some of the stories about Mary Sue, but if you had asked me 5 minutes ago who's Spike Bush, I would have said I've never heard of Spike Bush.
Yeah, I'm trying. You know what? I think he gets mentioned with Jesse Prince in stories about that. So I think Mark and Janice have mentioned him several times when they talk about Vicky Asnaran RTC, and he was in RTC at the time, and he also may have sided with her over Dave. And Jackson's told that part of the story. If you sided against Dave at any point during the takeover, you were black labeled for a long time.
A quick question, and I'll try not to digress for too long here. I have been told that Gavin Potter, who's one of the guys being sued right now, one of the Scientology SEAL members being sued for trafficking, that one of the reasons that for a short period of time, he was actually at ASI when he was a very young man. Right. And the reason he got busted down to Bridge Publications and PAC in general is that he was one of the people who was siding with Vicky Asnaran against Dave. And I thought to myself, I thought Dave would have gotten rid of anyone, like completely gotten rid of anyone who was siding with Vicky Asnaran. For you guys who are watching, David Miscavige is known as chairman of the board Religious Technology Center. Most Scientologists have no idea that he was not the first chairman of the board of Religious Technology Center. Before him, it was a woman named Vicky Asnaran. And David Miscavige, there was more than one battle for control of Scientology that Miscavige had to wage. One was against Pat Nanny Broker. Another was against Vicky Asnaran. Do you happen to know anything at all about Gavin Potter being at ASI, getting in trouble with Dave for siding with Vicky Asnaran? Was that anything you ever knew anything about?
So no, I had heard the name Gavin Potter before, but until your video, I had never known anything about that person. Okay, I don't even remember him coming up to the base for Sea Org Day when ASI used to come up to Gold for Sea Org Day. I don't even remember seeing him.
I think Gavin was fired into ASI either to help get Terry Gambeau removed or to fill her shoes after she was removed. So it wasn't,
Okay.
I don't even know for sure that he was like officially ASI staff. He might have just been fired in on some sort of a mission from Dave or something into there. Like it's not even entirely clear. So, okay.
Interesting. Okay.
I,
Yeah.
I
Totally
won't
get it.
digress there. So,
No,
hey,
but it's part of the story. It's part of the narrative of where we're talking about Dave and how things work there and the destruction or whatever it may be. So it's relevant to that, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. So since you framed what we're about to talk about as how you left CMO Gold and went into Grounds Gold, can you just define that for the people watching? What is CMO Gold? What's the significance of it? And what do you mean by Grounds?
Wonderful. I'll do that. So I'm talking about Golden Era Productions, which is the film studio that's in Riverside County. And Golden Era Productions, while in the public face, it's Golden Era Productions, it's really actually in management and Golden Era Productions. So on that property, it included RTC, CMO Int, Executive Strata, and Golden Era Productions, and CMO Gold. So because Golden Era Productions was its separate organization, you had a separate CMO unit, even though CMO Int was right there.
Nobody knows what CMO means.
Oh, okay. Commodore's Messenger Organization.
Nobody knows what that means.
Oh boy. Okay. So I forget I'm not just talking to you. And if you really want the history on all of this,
nobody wants the history.
Okay, start again. Lives are awesome. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the history, but the CMO, and we're just going to stick with that abbreviation. That is a management group that was located. So they don't physically do the work. They manage the people that do the work. They run programs. They run policy. They direct certain activities and actions into the units.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in and do it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
please do. I'm drowning.
So CMO stands for Commodore's Messenger Org. It has a historical significance because the original Commodore's messengers were L. Ron Hubbard's personal emissaries. They would personally run messages for him. And if you were a Sea Org member, you were told if you're speaking to a messenger, who for the most part were teenage girls, you are speaking to L. Ron Hubbard, and you have to speak to them with the same as if you were speaking to L. Ron Hubbard. So the messengers or anyone in the CMO had incredible altitude and authority in Scientology. After L. Ron Hubbard was no longer, let's just say, on the lines managing anything, the messengers basically became the senior most management entity in Scientology. And so what you have the mother church, which we'll just call Church of Scientology International. But over the mother church, you have the Commodore's messengers. And in present day Scientology, the job of the messengers is to make sure that management is there and managing. So David Miscavige, running RTC, basically uses the messengers to run Scientology. So when you have Golden Era Productions, the staff of Golden Era Productions, their job is to do the job of Golden Era Productions. But if you're assigned to be one of the Commodore's messengers assigned to Golden Era Productions, you are essentially L. Ron Hubbard's emissary there. Like, you're not technically a staff member at Gold. You're senior to everybody at Gold. And you really only answer to RTC and David Miscavige. So for Sterling to say he was in CMO Gold, he was in the Commodore's Messengers unit assigned to make sure Golden Era Productions was doing what David Miscavige wanted them to do. Right. And every Scientology Continental Management unit has as well a CMO unit assigned to it. And the CMO, I mean, other than David Miscavige and his RTC personnel, the CMO are the most senior members of Scientology management, even though technically they're senior to management. Okay, so you as a young man were assigned to CMO Gold, the CMO unit Gold, CMO Gold. And then you got busted to Grounds, which means they took you out of CMO. They put you into Golden Era Productions, and they basically made you the deputy piece of shit. You weren't even the senior piece of shit. You were the deputy, the assistant deputy piece of shit. So when you say the Grounds unit, you mean you're mowing the lawn, You're trimming the bushes. You're watering the. That's what you mean by grounds, right? The grounds crew.
That is what I mean. I was in trees officially, but that is what I mean by grounds.
Trees. Your official job was trees.
Yeah. Just so you know, in a hierarchy inside grounds, it does go trees, bushes, grass. So I want to make sure.
You're totally serious? You're not kidding?
I'm totally serious. Like, yes, just want to make sure that's noted and everyone knows that, you know. Yeah. So no, I was in trees.
You're like, I was in grounds, but bro, whoa. I was trees.
Yeah. At one point, we were the face of grounds. You are so good at explaining this. So I mean, and by the way, has no one gotten a copy of this Sea Org Scientology command chart? It must be floating around.
I do have one.
That would be fantastic to pull up because then everyone could really visually get the concept, even though the names have changed. Yeah,
I'll try to do it in the background, but I can't stand dead air. It makes me very
no, not today. I'm just saying at some point it would be
okay.
Yeah. Great explanation, by the way. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, but this is the story that you really want to tell. How what's everything that transpired where that got you busted out of CMO Gold and into grounds crew?
Yeah, it is a story because it's the part that was most traumatic. It's the part that stays with you the longest. It fits into the narrative of just how, you know, young people or children or young adults are treated there, and it's the most insidious side of Scientology and the Sea Org to me.
Well, you had my interest, but now you have my attention. No, I think it's the other way around. You had my attention, but now you have my interest. Yeah, because do I even know this story? I don't know that I do.
No, you don't.
Damn, keeping secrets.
Yes. No, I saved it I didn't save it, but it was too much to talk about in the beginning. There needed to be a backstory of just about where I came from and where I've been. But this, and I know people, and I started off with this, you know, bubbly stories about things I liked, and I'll do that. But this would be the traumatic one for me. This would be Jenna's equivalent to what Jenna talked about when her parents left and what she had to go through and trying to split up her in Dallas. This would be my most memorable trauma.
We'll start wherever you'd like.
Yeah. So I was married in 96 while I was in CMO Gold. Okay. Just previous to being married, I was on a small project to handle a few disaffected Sea Org members and staff on that base. Disaffected, by definition, would be someone that had become disassociated or angry with the organization or had bad things to say about the organization while they're still there. And so there was a group of people over at a location on the base called OGH, which was just an abbreviation for Old Gilman House. But it was a location where they would send staffers that needed to do labor, needed to correct something about their life or were in trouble. So I believe I was 19 at the time. And I was assigned to cull through some PC folders and SecCheck KRs of these various individuals, all of which were long-term veteran Sea Org members, Scientologists, and highly posted at one point. And so again, as everyone knows, I was just a kid. I was in over my head. The highest position I'd held before that was the pool IC, and, you know, picking up shit from peacocks. So I was a little sleep deprived. You know, there's pressure. And here I am reading through these SecCheck KRs. And for that is the interrogation reports, essentially. Hours and hours of them. And I was culling through those to find black PR lines or negative comments about Dave or L. Ron Hubbard or Scientology.
Can I ask you a question now?
Yeah.
So at this point, you weren't going through these folders like looking for things to blackmail them with. You were looking for things they needed to be handled on, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, this wasn't an OSA operation. This was what lines and can we fix those lines and find out who other people they may have told, so we can track down, narrow down, and then kind of erase the memory of those through arguably 1984 Tactics, the book, which the book for me most correlates to Scientology, and I'll talk about that some other time. But so here I am going through these things day and night. I am reading about you know, sexual, how far in are we? Can I
You
talk?
can say anything.
Okay. I'm talking about sexual or reading about sexual infidelity, sex acts, you know, positions, just gruesome stuff about people having affairs and how it happened and secret hiding, and then it bounces into you know, evil purposes. And I don't know if you've explained that on your channel, but what Scientology would define as an evil purpose is some sort of aggression or antisocial thought you have towards the primary figures in Scientology or the Sea Org. And really what that means is Dave Miscavige and L. Ron Hubbard, because it doesn't really apply to anyone else. If Aaron wanted to punch another staff member, they wouldn't consider that an evil purpose. But if you thought about punching Dave Miscavige, then that would be an evil purpose. And seriously, there's a lot of evil purposes going around if that was one of them. So imagine being inundated with that information. Here I was 19. I'd never had a girlfriend per se. I'd been interested. I'd never had sex at that point. And I'm reading about this stuff day in and day out, just trying to locate these negative thoughts or stuff like that. And it got into my head. It really kind of messed me up and put me in what you could only describe today as like a psychosis or just a bad headspace. And no condition, no way, no scenario should a 19-year-old kid be put to read those things. And I was a very happy-go-lucky guy, so you can imagine this took a big toll on me. And at one point while reading through these, I kind of had the thought, I goes, well, wow, what if someday I had a thought like that about Dave or L. Ron Hubbard? And the thought kind of crossed my mind, like just a thought of, you know, oh, what if I wanted to hurt Dave? And saying it now sounds absurd because I'm not a fighter. I'm not that type of person, but I just had that thought. And this is part of
it's just like someone saying, try not to think of a purple elephant. It's like, well, obviously I'm now thinking of a purple elephant.
Exactly. Right. Exactly described that way. Well, I also was acutely aware that having a thought like that made you a bad person or would put you in that category. So then I'm trying to fight it. So then I'm in my head, I'm trying to fight. Well, I can't have a thought like that. Well, what if I did? Well, what if I didn't? And at some point along the line, just after I finished that project and before I got married, I was in a motorcycle accident. And so when you get into an accident, it's an absurd motorcycle accident. I'm going to tell that real fast. We drove these little 110s around. I think Mark talked about it. It's like a cross between a scooter and a motorcycle, whatever. I was able to drive around one of these 110s, 110cc. That's what it's referring to as a Honda. And I was out at what was the qualifications location. They had a trailer, a double wide trailer. And at the end of one of these double wide trailers, there was a wall banging AC, a wall banger. It's the air conditioning unit that you just put in the wall. One side is outside, so it can exhaust the heat, and the other side's inside, and it cools the room. Well, I had spun the bike around to make a fast exit for whatever reason, because I was a 19-year-old hotshot. And I got caught in a rut, and I ran directly into that wall unit. The motorcycle went underneath, and I just face planted this thing. Yeah, face planted it and got flipped off the back of the bike. Ironically, the only thing that happened was I got a little scar on my chin. I managed to flip my head back at the same time to protect the moneymaker. And and so I had stitches, but I went in session. And this came up. This little thought about Dave came up. Nothing happened for whatever reason. Nothing really happened. I then got married. And when you go on your honeymoon, you have to get a leaving and leaves interrogation. I'm just going to call it interrogation because that makes more sense to everyone. Leaving and leaves is just a stupid word, but it really just means if you're going to leave the property for any amount of time over a day, you're required to get interrogation to make sure that nothing is happening that may make you just want to escape when you leave.
Yeah.
Also overboard and a little bit torturous, because guess what? You've got all this pressure on you because you need to leave. You need to go do this thing. You're getting married. And now you've just got to be like, oh, well, every little thing comes up. If you took an extra paper clip when you shouldn't have, if you forgot to leave your computer and you didn't log out, all these things come up. It is a definite mind fuck. Anyway, so it comes up in that interrogation, this thought thing again. But for whatever reason, probably because I was marrying Suzette, and that's Shelley's sister, they didn't really dig into it. They let it go. Let's move forward. I get married. I'm in ops. I'm doing all this stuff. And one day I get called aside from everyone. And I get, Sterling, you need to go report down to RTC for an interrogation. And I'm like, okay, I have no clue what's happening. Only someone that's there can understand the butterflies that go through your stomach when you get called for an interrogation. And really because while you're there, you're not, crimes or doing something wrong really doesn't occur on a daily basis. You're just dedicated to your work. You're just doing what you can do to help out. You're not really doing something horrible all the time. And maybe there was some instances of people cheating on their wife or maybe stealing something from the canteen. But on a normal day, that's not what exists. And you don't really think about those things. So when you go in for an interrogation, you go into a defense mode and an internal mode of, what did I do? What could I have done? What did I do that I forgot about? Because on a day-to-day basis, you're just rolling with it, right? You're just doing your job.
Yeah.
So I get called in for an interrogation. And I don't know at the moment I go in what it's about. Later on, just so we're clear what this is connected to, is that my mom, Biddy, she had been in Florida for the longest time, running projects and doing different things there. And she had been removed from post and there was an instance of infidelity at the time. And so, with Dave, that was a big no-no. And that was like, anytime that happened to any staff member, that was grounds for just everything going downhill.
So did that blow up with Biddy and Clearwater around 96 ish?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was the middle of 96. It was after Sierra Day 96, or I'm not going to get the dates right.
So late 96.
Late 96. Yeah. And so what I didn't know at the time was I was being interrogated because of that. What did you know? Did you know that Biddy was doing something? Did you know anything about her? Do you know about her? And so I was being asked these questions that were like, I didn't understand at first. Like, whoa, what's happening? Well, when I didn't have any answers for that, what's the next thing? They're going to just start making up.
Right.
Yeah. Someone's going to be giving them a list of things to ask about. And I will never forget this, but this was the first one that just offended me and shocked my system. The question was, and this is gruesome. The question was, did you mess around with your sister Jenna? Did you fuck your sister Jenna? Did you do any of these things? And I'm sitting there going, what? Did I really just get asked that question? Like, I could not believe it. I was like, no, I got offended. I started looking back going, what are you even asking me this question? And this was a person that I'd known for a long time that I even respected. It was a lady. So I was just like, what is happening? That's the point when it became like, this is a dream. I'm imagining this. This can't be real. And then the line of questioning went into my dad. And the question was, did your dad molest you when you were younger? And pointed questions around that. And again, I didn't have anything on this. No, these things didn't happen. Of course not. Are you absurd? That's my sister. I remember the thought process going, that's my sister. What are you talking about? All right. So they went on the subject of Jenna. That didn't read. They talked about my dad. That didn't read, because they're going for this horrible piece of information. That's what they want. They want this one damning thing. And I can only imagine that it was Dave that told him to do it.
Oh, I was going to say, Dave is the one who's behind all that sort of sick shit. He is obsessed with weird sex stuff.
100%. And so Greg Wilhair was involved in this pretty intricately. And of course, there's no one else in the world that could have told Greg Wilhair to come down and do that but Dave, except for maybe Shelley. But I would imagine that Shelley wouldn't go into something that deep. I could be wrong, and I'd hate to hear that at some point it was her, but I'm going to imagine, because mid-interview, and I did this interview for 3 days straight. It was horrific. But the first day was mostly about these things. And it was also about, they even asked questions. Can you imagine this? I've been married for about 8-9 months. They even asked questions. Are you having, are you doing any weird sexual stuff with Suzette? And up until that point, and I can only laugh about this now, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But wow, I never thought of that. That would be, like, no, man, it's missionary, dude. Like,
Sterling's like, wait, is that an option?
Yeah, that's on the table. Hang tight. Am I doing this wrong? And I don't want to laugh too much at it because it's pretty horrific, but I will laugh at that particular scenario because it's a little bit like, what? And sorry, can I have to apologize. I need to answer this real quickly. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
You know me and my
go ahead. Here, put yourself on mute and I'll do a little bit of talking.
Okay, great. I will. How do I put myself on mute? Here we go.
So guys, and I wanted to say this, but I didn't want to, interrupt Sterling's story. One of the things to consider on how these security checks, these interrogations, these metered ethics interviews go is it's not enough for you to answer the question. So if they said, hey, when you were little, did you ever mess around with your sister? It's not enough for Sterling to go, no, of course not, and then move on. The auditor or the interviewer or whatever uses the meter as an interrogation tool. And the meter might very well give some sort of a reaction. And you can unmute yourself, Sterling, but I'll just finish this little explanation.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is how these interviews go. And this is why they're so psychically damaging. Is if I'm the interviewer, I go, hey, Sterling, did you mess around with your sister? And you're like, no, of course not. And I go, well, take a look. What did you think? I'm not allowed to say that read on the meter, but I can go, what did you think of when I asked you the question? And now all of a sudden, mentally, you're on the defensive where you look like you're hiding something because the auditor's asking you for something you don't have to give. And they're not accepting your answer that there's nothing there. And it's also used as an interrogation technique to make you divulge other stuff because anything you divulge is going to be less disgusting than what you're being asked about. Right. And this can go on for hours and hours and hours. You could have someone like Sterling, who's born and raised in Scientology, be asked in an interview, were you sent here by the CIA? It's an insane question. It's not even possible. But depending on what the meter goes, the auditor is going to go, well, take a look. What are you looking at there? What are you not telling me? And all of a sudden you're on the defense about whether you're a CIA plant. Anyway, I just wanted to explain that to people because I swear to God, I don't think the e-meter gets enough credit for being one of the most psychologically damaging tools and aspects of the Scientology experience. It's crazy.
Yep, 100%. And once you figure out that it's actually infallible and it's not really,
you mean fallible?
Really fallible, yeah, it doesn't work, then that's the end of that sort of hypnotic brainwashing and leverage. Because when I did leave, I was on the meter getting sex check again, and I just Jenna stepped on the cans, I stepped on the auditor. I literally made up an entire story and got him to totally acknowledge it, and the needle was floating and everything like that. And then at the end, I said, I made that entire story up. And guess what? He goes, you're a fucking idiot because I made the entire thing up and the needle really read. Yeah, that thing does not work. And then I walked out. And that was the last time I ever got an interrogation because it really doesn't work.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going through 3 days of this. Okay. After the first day of the gruesome stuff, the gruesome stuff, even the questions about my father, it was referring to something they knew about my dad that I didn't know when they asked me those questions. Had I been molested as a kid and different stuff like that? And it was so much of an affront to me. I'm like, this is my dad you're talking about. And I was like, and what does that have to do with anything in the world right now? But being brainwashed at the time, I got offended, but I kind of let it just go. I didn't really register with me until later on when I found out some other information, or when they tried to turn me against my dad and use information. But
And just so that people understand, your dad at this time was also a Sea Org member. It's not like he was some non-Scientologist that Miscavige was just trying to drag through the mud. It was one of the most dedicated Scientologists there are.
Yep, he was. He was. And you're going to have to ask Jenna this next time you talk to her, but I think she got interrogated at the exact same time. And I remember her talking about it with me because I remember my reaction to it going, wow, that happened to you too at the same time. And it was brutal. And I think it happened to Justin as well, but I don't know. I'd have to ask him in a new unit of time. I'd have to ask if that is something he remembers or experienced. Okay. Day 2, going hardcore on this. It's affecting me, but I'm still happy-go-lucky. I'm still just, I'm going to pull this. I'm going to make this a positive somehow. Well, nothing's coming up. They really want to know. They tried all the sexual stuff. They tried the stealing. They tried everything else. They know there's that little bit of thought that happened that one time about Dave because I was doing that project. But they're determined to find what was behind that, why I would have had that thought or something along that line. And I remember, I'll never forget this. Greg Wilhair came storming in the room in the middle of my interrogation. Interrogation was stopped, and he looks and he yells. I mean, and he could yell. He goes, "You motherfucker. If you don't come clean right now, I'm going to chop your fucking legs off for the rest of your life. You're never going to survive anywhere. You're not going to be able to do a single goddamn thing. So come clean right now or you're fucking toast." And I mean, and he said it so violently that my system was shocked. And you have to understand, he was number 2, number 3 at this point in Scientology. And that's the conversation I'm having with someone at the age of 19. And this is Greg Wilhair, who knows me since I was a baby, whose son was one of my closest friends, who was there when I was raised, and he could turn on me like that. Now, at the same time, I realized this later on, Biddy was his boss before this happened.
Biddy was Greg Wilhair's boss?
Yes, she was. She was DIG. Yeah, yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she was.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that ties in a little bit to Jenna's story too, because it, and again, I want to, someone can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but you met Jenna doing the Key to Life course yeah. So she was there because Biddy had enough pull and power to say, I want my daughter here because I haven't seen her in 5 or 6 months. Right. So I think that's why Jenna was there. I'm speaking from my experience, hearing about it from third person, but I believe that Biddy had enough pull at the time saying, hey, I want my daughter here. I also believe that when Biddy was demoted or removed from her position, I think a lot of people went after Jenna. And I think she spoke about that in her book. All of a sudden she had Jenny Linson down her throat and different people just going after her because they're like, oh, you don't have that protection anymore. You're open to whatever. And I believe that happened when Biddy was removed from her position. She no longer had that air cover.
So basically, once Biddy fell out of favor with David Miscavige, it was open season on Biddy and Ronnie's kids.
Yes. In my experience, for sure. I don't want to speak for Jenna, but I believe she even spoke about that in her book. That it was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened? What happens after this Greg Wilhair thing?
Okay, so eventually they get to this point where nothing's coming up, and I think they had to create something. So they do a group-wide interrogation form. We called it interrog, but it means it's short for interrogation. It's where you issue a set of questions to an organization about a particular individual, and everyone fills that form out, and then they collate it based on the answers. And well, It's like, it's questions about me. Did I say anything about Dave? Did I spread black propaganda about Dave? Did I say anything bad about him? Well, of course, if it's just about me, everyone's going to remember whatever I said ever about Dave, whether good or bad. Now, of course, most of it was good, but guess what came up? In 1993, the Philadelphia Phillies were in the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And I was in the pool IC at that time. And
so you were the pool in charge? You were in charge of the pool?
I was the pool in charge. I was up cleaning L. Ron Hubbard's pool at Bonneview before it was renovated. And I would take a little radio. And this time, like a tiny little radio because it was the World Series, and I would listen to the games. And I remember coming down one time, talking to my boss at the time. His name was Jeff Mullins, and saying, "Man, I forget. Someone had told me, or I'd heard that Dave was at the World Series. He did go to the 1993 World Series." And I remember saying, "Man, Dave's there. God, I hope he brings me back something, or I wish I was there with him, or something along those lines." That's all I said. I said that Dave was at the World Series, and I forget how I knew that, but I knew that. Maybe my mom, or maybe Ronnie told me or something. So that comes back as in the interview. Did you tell people that Dave Miscavige was at the World Series? I'm like, yeah, I did, but he was at the World Series. Were you upset with him that he was at the World Series? I said, well, yeah, I thought he should have brought me back something. He kind of knew I was a baseball fan. I'm a kid. I'm a naive kid, right? And I also this time I knew that he had a motorcycle, a car, and I didn't know the difference. I still really didn't grasp the difference between him and everyone else, except for that he was COB. I didn't get why we couldn't have a motorcycle, we couldn't have a car, and I think I'd made that comment to someone. I'm like, Dave has those things. Why? I wonder why I can't have a car. I would love to have a car. And well, that got turned into me black PRing Dave. And for that, I was removed from SEMO Gold and sent into the grounds department because, well, but here's the real truth of it. They had to have something.
That's
and when you got this squeaky clean 19-year-old kid, what are you going to have who only knows about missionary? What are you going to have on me? Right? I didn't have anything. And I love sports and all this stuff. And that's all they could have. But what's crazy about it, Aaron, is that after those 3 days, they're like, okay, you're done. We're going to figure out what to do with you. On the 4th day, I remember going back and I was like, well, I'm restricted to the base, but fine. But I knew that on every morning, SEMO Gold would get about an hour of exercise when exercise still was a thing at this property. And it was from like 8:30 till 9:30. Well, I went to go play basketball the next morning after being interrogated for 3 days. And I remember showing up on the basketball court and being like, so, whose team can I be on? And one of the people came up to me and said, Sterling, you can't play basketball with us anymore. Do you realize what you've done? And I still hadn't realized what I had done. The how me telling about the story about Dave going to the World Series, or even saying I wish I'd had those things, didn't occur to me to be in any way against any rules of the group or something that was horrible. It was just me and my big mouth, or talking about something.
I'm sure everyone watching this video is still confused as to what the problem is.
And so was I at that. Right. Yeah. So was I.
Sterling, let me ask you a question here, though. Because I understand, I've seen this a million times in Scientology. Once they decide you've got to be taken out, it doesn't really matter what you confess to. They're going to get you to say something they can use against you. I'm not clear on what it is that made someone decided they had to get you.
I'm going to guess it was the betrayal of Biddy to Dave for doing what she did. And I was just one of the reminders of her. The same way that I think when Jenna spoke about her story, she said she was hidden in the bathroom and had to clean in the bathroom so he couldn't see her, even though she hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
But that leads back to Dave's nature. And that is David Miscavige.
That's right. I mean, for anyone who didn't see the interview with Jenna, she said that during this time after her, if I recall Jenna's story correctly, that the period that she was talking about isn't when Biddy got in trouble in 96. It's when Biddy and Ronnie Jr. were leaving the Sea Org.
Yes.
And Jenna was taken off of her post. She was assigned to interrogations. She was assigned to physical labor. And she had to eat her lunch in the bathroom because nobody wanted David to walk by and get upset because he saw her. So again, it's one of these things to confirm what you're saying. It certainly does seem that once David Miscavige, in this case, you know, Biddy Miscavige falls out of favor with him, he doesn't even want to see her kids. He's such a fucking psycho.
100%. And just so there's Mystery Justin, there's Jenna, there's me. Okay. Jenna looks like
Can we call him Bigfoot Justin?
Bigfoot Justin. Oh, he's going to argue that he has bigger feet than me too. Let's not do that. That's one of his favorite things to say is
we'll call him Chupacabra. Chupacabra Justin.
Jenna looks like Ronnie. I mean, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, shorter in stature. She resembles Ronnie to more. Justin looks like Bigfoot. I actually, he's gonna kill me. I can't wait to hear our phone call later. I actually resemble and in demeanor am a lot like Biddy, including the face of what the fuck are you talking about when someone's telling you something that just seems absurd.
Oh, you have like a WTF face or something?
Yes. And so she had the same thing. And I know that Dave saw that in me. So I can only imagine that had something to do with it. But yes, he went after the children. First, to find out if they knew what happened with her. Second, to find out because Dave would do this. They must have crimes.
That's right.
There's no other explanation for it. And that auditor, and I think Claire's spoken about this, that auditor has to find that. Otherwise, their neck's on the line.
Hey, let me ask you, who was, I know, and we're not throwing shade here.
Yeah.
Just so that some people like to know the characters involved.
Yeah.
Who was the poor auditor assigned to do this with you for 3 days?
I can't remember her name. And I'll give it to you in a second. Nope. Cannot remember her name.
Bitch.
Why? Because not that significant in my head. But Claire will know.
I thought you said you really, really liked her.
I found her to be genuinely nice. And she actually did not turn until that Greg moment.
Oh, I thought you meant like you knew her in life and liked her. You just meant you liked her from your experience with her. She was like a straight shooter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I won't be.
Yeah, I know it's hard to explain. You know, so I say that about so many people. But what I can say about her is none of what she was doing in the beginning seemed personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't turn it on until Greg Wilhare came in there.
Mm.
Everything up until that point was, I get it. You're trying to answer my questions. I feel for you. And I don't want to forget this. The worst part of that experience for me was being in the room, trying to answer the questions and not having an answer for the questions, but knowing my only way out was to answer the questions. That is worse than the door being locked, because I could have overpowered her and walked out of that room if I wanted to. But knowing that I couldn't leave and I couldn't get out until I've answered the questions, which I didn't have an answer for because there wasn't one, was torture.
Wow.
Was complete torture. And that feeling I'll never forget. And that's why when I read Leah's book and she talked about her getting sec checked and having to do the truth or interrogated and having to do the truth rundown, I believe, and other stuff, that's the feeling. That's the moment when I was there that creates the little bit of burn, the little bit of anxiety, the little bit of anger inside of me, because that moment and those moments later on, when you have been put in that position, to me are just torture. And to this day, if I have a question directed at me in any sort of hostile or interrogative form, I have a reaction to that. I still do. And I try to understand that in this world, in the real world, 99% of the people you speak to are not going to talk to you like that. And they're going to be kind, and it's going to be a genuine question. And I have to convince myself of that, because even if the person I'm talking to, I know likes me, loves me, is a good person, is good natured, but they slipped up and asked a question in that way, my reaction is to be defensive and fight against it and answer it. So
can I tell you
There's
crazy?
my trauma.
Can I tell you something crazy?
What's that?
As a young because I had so much of that anxiety experience as a young teenager, 12, 13, 14, 15, walking into the ethics office, walking up to the receptionist, that feeling of anxiety, the desk, the level that the desk was at, the uniforms that Sea Org members wear. I get anxiety walking up to bank tellers. Wow. Because it feels like I'm walking into ethics reception.
And that's a real thing, man.
I feel like I have to be very nice, very polite. Oh my God, my future depends on this person liking me or being happy with me or thinking I'm okay or thinking I don't have anything going on with me. I have that weird thing just walking into banks. I don't even know how to explain it.
No,
I mean, I just did try to explain it, but
and you did, and I understand that, and that's the exact same thing I am talking about. It may be in a different form, it may be slightly different in its details, but it's the same feeling. It's the same. Essentially, it's PTSD. I would, with no better definition, it's PTSD, right? It may not be an ordnance exploding at your feet, or you're in a Humvee getting shot at, and I don't want to compare it to the experience of war because it's not, but it's a mental PTSD. It is a torture to some degree that you had to go through. And you say you never went up the bridge. After this experience, I could care less about going up the bridge. If someone offered me auditing, I'd be like, no, I'm good. Thank you so much. I never wanted to do it again, because not being able to answer a question that you're being asked, but knowing that your livelihood depends on answering that question, is absolute torture.
Yeah. You know, I also want to comment that what makes, I think, what you experienced in that session even worse is that your auditor in that case, was it a session or an interview?
It was a straight up interview, no session. So it was,
So your ethics interview. I bet if your needle had floated on the question she was trying to get answered, she wouldn't even have told you, because she would be in trouble for not getting you to spill your crimes. She's not allowed to just carry on. So like she's putting you in an impossible situation. And she also happens to be in an impossible situation because Greg Wilhair just kicked in the goddamn door and essentially demanded by proxy that she get you to confess. But by demanding you confess, he's demanding she gets you to confess.
Right.
So you're both screwed.
We're both stuck in a rock and a hard place, right? For an Eastern phrase.
This is a perfect example of how things like auditing, tech, whatever, is even worse and more abusive at international management than it is at the lower levels. Because when I first heard, I mean, look, a lot of abusive shit happens at the continental levels.
Yes.
I was never any higher than the continental levels.
Yeah.
But when I first heard these kinds of crazy stories, like someone kicking in a fucking door in the middle of something, I thought that couldn't possibly be true, because that's so crazy. Even in Scientology, that would be so crazy that couldn't possibly be true. And yet everyone from international management has these fucking stories.
Right.
Like the idea, and the only reason I'm being a little long-winded about this, Sterling, is because the only reason I lasted as long as I did in the Sea Org and in Scientology was my sincere belief that no matter what I was experiencing, everything was better uplines. No matter how bad my day-to-day life was, I still thought David Miscavige was the best thing, and that the closer you were to David Miscavige, the better things got, and that the only reason my experience was shitty is because I was too far away from Miscavige, and if only I could get closer to him, things would get better.
Yeah.
And I only wonder how many other people feel the same way, because they don't understand that whatever they're experiencing, no matter how bad it is, that's the trickle-down effect, because it's so much worse the higher up you go.
Right. Which is why so many people have a hard time believing it when you tell them. There's no way. It's got to be. And there's an irony to that too. That is just, it's just slap you in the face. If you look, if you look even at the gold property, it is a paradise. It could have been so good. So awesome. I mean, in PAC, you guys didn't even have a place to exercise, right? You didn't have a basketball court. We had running tracks, lakes to swim in, pool to swim in, basketball courts, volleyball courts, softball fields. It was golf courses. It was outrageous. But there's the other torture. We couldn't use the stuff because of Dave. It's like, let's just dangle this in front of us. I mean, it could have been so nice, but it wasn't. And I totally get it. It's like, I was there and I'm like, the last 4 or 5 years I was there, we didn't have Christmas minus a 45-minute dinner. And I'm a big Thanksgiving, Christmas guy. I love those holidays. They are my favorite holidays. I do not like Halloween. Won't dress up for that. Love 4th of July, but still not the same as Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we weren't having those anymore. And I'm starting to go, man, this just sucks. But you know what? Next year it's going to get better because we're almost there. And Dave may be working on it. And even though I knew he was a psychotic little bitch, that I wanted to believe that it was going to get better, but I somehow knew it wasn't going to get better. And it just took a few little instances, a few little things over the last 4 or 5 months I was there to get my mind to go, fuck you. Because I ain't doing this the rest of my life. I was here. I could have the minimal amount. I could play sports and I could do my job. Sleep deprivation, okay. I could handle all that stuff. But once you started taking away the Christmases and you couldn't even, it got so bad, you couldn't even just work anymore. You couldn't put your headphones on and just do a job to keep yourself sane because Dave was thinking of some reason why you must be interrogated or you must go off and do this, or everyone at the base is an asshole. And he somehow found the need to tell everyone that. It just became unbearable. It was unbearable to be there.
Did you get to the point where it felt like, or did you get the sense that Dave almost seemed like it was his job to make people uneasy, anxious, unstable, uncertain? Not his job, but like he relished it. That was his normal. Like he wasn't happy if everyone was happy. He was happy if everyone was off kilter, nervous, anxious, not knowing what might happen next. I mean, did you get to the point where you were like, this guy seems to want things to be bad?
Yes, I was. And I can only say that from like his love of using the phrase, they scattered like cockroaches, is what he used to say when he'd walk into a space, but he said it proudly. Like, I walk into a space and they scatter like cockroaches. And you know what? I was lucky because I was a fast fucking cockroach. I stayed away from. I knew that no matter what, man, if I walked into a room, he would single me out every time. I'm not doing this. So I remember running up to the office building much later in the mid 2000s, 2003, 2004, and I would or 2002, 2003, and I would open the door to CMU, and I would just crank it open just a crack to see if I could hear or see him. And if he was there, shut the door. I have to go back across the property to go find something because I did not. And mind you, the worst thing to do was when he was yelling at someone else to walk in, because when you walked in, he turned his head and everyone else turned his head, and now you were the center of attention. So don't ever be the last guy in the room. That was death, like, for sure. Yeah.
Funny little anecdote.
Yeah.
Just because sometimes I forget that I actually have any personal, even remote personal experience with this. There was a period at Flag when me and my brother were there that where my brother was considered sort of a little superstar because he was like the first person to finish the metering course.
Oh, wow.
And Shelly had to personally pass those videos. So Miscavige knew who my brother was. He didn't know who I was, but he knew who my brother was. Unfortunately, we're identical twins.
Similar story, by the way.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
My brother was walking down Fort Harrison Avenue towards the WB, the West Coast building. Do you know which one that is?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Dave's offices were there.
Okay.
Now, David Miscavige, unbeknownst to my brother, was in a car driving the other direction. Now, my brother would never know that. He's not like looking through windshields. He's probably not even paying attention to anything. As Dave is driving towards my brother turns around and walks the other direction as if he'd forgotten something. Oh, shit, I forgot something from where I was just coming from, right?
Yeah.
And then once Dave had driven past, my brother turned around and continued walking where he had been walking. So it was almost like one of these things like, oh, shit, I forgot something. And it's like, oh, I do have it. And then you continue on, right?
A complete coincidence.
Total coincidence.
Yeah.
My brother was called in for an interrogation to find out why he was trying to get away from Miscavige while walking down that sidewalk.
The arrogance to even think that that person was reacting to you is extreme.
Exactly.
And that's Dave.
We're talking about a 14-year-old fucking kid walking down just doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Nothing weird or suspicious going on. But Miscavige sees him, pull him in and find out what he's hiding. What does he have to hide? Let me tell you, you bring in a 14-year-old boy and interrogate him on something, you're going to find some things he's hiding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Humiliating. And imagine also the pressure, the psychic pressure of being like, the head of the Scientology religion thinks I'm hiding crimes.
Yep.
Because of something I didn't even do.
No. And a kid at 14 can't handle that. I don't care how tough you are, who raised you, if your parents were military, you're not going to be able to handle that sort of pressure because there's no equivalent to it anywhere in the world. To be honest, I can't imagine it. I mean, unless you bumped into a president once and he told the FBI to pull that kid in and interrogate him. Why was he walking on my sidewalk? But that would never happen. Right.
Right.
So, and Dave in the church, in the Sea Org, arguably more powerful than the president would be to the common citizen in the United States, because the proximity is always much closer. And he was abusive. It's sad to see, because there was so many people I knew too that I also respect and were good people, and to see how he, I wasn't there all the meetings, but I got to see a few meetings where he just browbeat the shit out of people. Dan Coons and Jeff Hawkins and people that were just trying to do a good job there. And it was sad to see that. It was sad to see that. I don't know. I can't not read those.
That's okay.
But yeah. And I think I meant to say this before. Look, at anyone that watches SBT, I want you to know that any of the stories you've heard about Dave, that I've either been there and seen or heard stories where I wasn't there, but I've heard people I know tell the stories. You're not getting exaggerations. That's not happening. They are telling the truth. What you know about this guy is what they're telling you, and it is true. And even Leah's story about how Dave tries to come in and be I didn't know that was happening to you, Leah. I didn't know you. Oh, that's bullshit. That dude knew everything that was happening. He absolutely knew. There's no question. He knew everything, and he must know everything, and he had to know everything. And he probably drank his scotch at night while reading other people's interrogations. And I think even Tom DeVock mentions that, he would read at the end of the night, he would read these interrogations and get his jollies off of him or his joys off him. He's a sick individual.
He genuinely does seem to enjoy inflicting emotional pain on others, and obviously sometimes physical pain. But I think, Miscavige isn't just going all around the world just kicking the shit out of people. I think 99% of the pain he inflicts on people is emotional and psychological abuse.
Yes, I'd say, and you got to do the math. If any of you are watching SP Network and you're wondering, is this true? It doesn't make sense. I can't put together the information that he's leading this great religion that's expanding like no other, and he does these things. Well, just ask yourself, how many people that worked with L. Ron Hubbard still work with Dave, and how many of those people he's gotten rid of, and how that could be possible, unless Dave is better and smarter than L. Ron Hubbard and knew people better. And I don't think L. Ron Hubbard knew people at all either, but let's just do that math for a second. How can it be that someone has had so many people work for him leave? Can only be one explanation, because it's not that there's 2.5% of the people that leave, because I think it's about 75% of the people leave that ever work under his tyrannical, lead.
And it is amazing to consider that when you're dealing with Sea Org members who are arguably dedicated to their cause about as much as anybody can be dedicated to anything, and you consider just how horribly you have to treat those people, or how horribly or small, how horribly you have to make them feel, or how small and tiny you have to make them feel, or how worthless you have to make them feel in order for them to leave something they've dedicated their entire lives to. That's why some people question whether David Miscavige is even a true believer. I think he is a true believer. Or whether he's really trying to expand Scientology. I think he is trying to expand Scientology. He's just so, whatever the word, whether you want to say psycho, crazy, stupid, sadistic, whatever, he is sowing the seeds of his own destruction. I feel like if he just treated people 10% better, nobody would ever leave. But he's so dedicated to treating people as horribly as he can.
That it can't, you can't. Yeah, he had a winning lottery ticket as far as dedication and staff goes, and he blew it. He really did, because it's exactly what you say. The dedication level, the amount of the camaraderie, the teamwork, the esprit de corps that existed there was outrageous. And in the good moments, when it was for a good cause and you feel like you were actually helping, you felt like $1 million. But this guy could tear that down with 2 words. And he enjoyed tearing that down with 2 words.
Yeah.
He has a Napoleon complex, right? And I want to clarify, by the way, because I am, you know, former family member, knowing people. I've talked to several people just to verify his height. And I don't want to height shame anyone, but I know several people that know every square inch of Dave. And he is 5'4", I've been told. 5'4".
Long or wide?
Someday it'll be wide, but long.
Yeah.
Now that's 5'4", and I have no verification of the size of the heel of the shoe he is wearing.
So you're if you're a betting man, you're saying Dave is 5'4" without his magical boots.
If I'm a betting man, I was going to put money on it. Yeah.
You know, something about your story is what's interesting is that he went in there hoping he was going to hang you with something about wanting to cause him harm, and he couldn't even make that stick. So all he could get to stick was something you said one time many years ago about him going to the fucking World Series.
Yeah.
And what's wild to me is that you know, when you say this was an incredibly traumatic thing for you, it seems to me that it's not because of what they hung you with. It's the situation they put you in, this impossible, like mentally scarring situation of being tried for something you didn't do, being put in a situation where you can't get out of it. It's like when you're being waterboarded, but you don't have the intel. Right? Like when you say this was the worst thing that happened to you, it's not like, oh, I was so ashamed because they took me out of CMO Gold. It doesn't even sound like that's what did it for you. Doesn't even sound like that's what made it bad for you.
No, not being able to answer unless you've experienced it. It's hard to put into words. Not being able to answer a question in a scenario where your livelihood depends on it is not an easy thing to do. I mean, I can still remember the lighting in the room, the color of the desk. I can't remember her name, but but that's me. By the way, I'm terrible with names. So, and I've admitted that to everyone I know. Yeah, it's something I'll never forget. It's still there. And I don't talk about it a lot. And I don't think I've divulged that particular information to anyone in over 15 years. I maybe told my story to people when I first left, or a couple of years after I left. You know, I talked to Mark about it for sure. I talked to Claire about it. I probably talked to Jackson about it. I've talked to my mom about it. But I don't think I've discussed that particular part. That is what tore me up the most. For sure. That really tore me up. And that was my experience with him. And, you know, and I never recovered from that. I was always looked down upon or in the shits from that time moving forward. Always on edge, always on guard, always, you know, people didn't post me in certain areas because Dave might frequent that area more. Being in grounds, I was easily, you know, I could just go behind a bush and hide, you know what I mean? If he was coming around or I was out doing something. It was, yeah. That was
the idea that, and I try to put myself sometimes in the shoes of any under the radar Scientologist or soon to be under the radar Scientologist who watch this stuff going, how is what they're hearing different from what they would expect? And, you know, most Scientologists think that David Miscavige is just this amazing, benevolent monarchist, right? This benevolent monarch.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's got everyone's best interests at heart. He's got, you know, the well-being of mankind at heart. He's got the expansion of Scientology at heart. And it's like, contrast that with someone who declares open season on his sister-in-law's children because he's upset with her. And he goes after you, and he goes after Jenna. And I don't know if Justin has a story of his own that coincides, you know, with these times. But it's like, even I, ex-Scientologist Aaron, would not have guessed that Miscavige was that vindictive. And you're like, Jesus, by now you still wouldn't have guessed that? This is like next level shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to go after my sister-in-law's kids who've been born and raised in Scientology, are dedicated Sea Org members, and I'm going to take them out for no reason at all, just to make them feel like shit because it makes Dave feel good. Yeah. I mean, this is like boiling bunnies crazy.
Yeah. And if there's a question, I mean, if there's a question about that, in 2004, I mentioned this, when I actually left, he told the interrogator to check if I was a CIA plant. This is the person running your wonderful religion, people. He who knows exactly who I am and who birthed me and my parents, he actually wanted someone to put me on the meter and ask if I worked for the CIA and if I was spying on Scientology from my position in trees. Fucking got a shitload of information there. From my position as the pool IC, I interrogated the shit out of those peacocks, just so you know. I grilled them night after night. And then my position in CMU as the pre-press IC who handled the printing of the basics. And like, are you serious? He asked that question. I could not believe it when I got interrogated about that. You know, but hey, thank you. One of the reasons why I'm gone. I was like, that's batshit crazy. And I already knew he was crazy, but that was one of the things I was like, wow. So you are insane. It's not, you know, it's not me making this up or creating something in my head. You're insane. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, when you've chatted with your mom about this, Biddy, does she seem to agree that Miscavige really is just this bitter, just this vengeful, just this crazy, that he really would take out his wrath on her kids for no reason? Or does she think there's maybe something else going on there? I'm just wondering, like, does she see it as black and white as that?
She does. And you know, I've had conversations with her about it. I don't ask questions that direct. I get the feel for it with her, but she, there's no question. She knows, thinks, and is confirmed that Dave is that batshit crazy. And what he does is ridiculous. She, in a story she told me, she's one of the few people that's actually stopped him from beating the crap out of someone. And I would believe it was her, him, and one or two other people. And he started kicking a guy on the ground. And she actually yelled, Dave, stop. Like, Dave, stop doing that. Stop. You can't do that. You know, and actually stopped him from beating the crap out of someone. Because, hey, he hit people in front of other people. Can you imagine what he did when there wasn't a lot of people around?
I can't. I mean, I can't.
When it was 2 or 3 people, if he was willing to hit someone in front of a group of 40 people at a conference room table, can you imagine? Because he's pushing a limit. He obviously started testing the waters at some point and kind of went, let's go a little further based on the stories I've heard from Mark and Janice, people that have known him all through the years. This became a thing and then got to its extreme point, which maybe the whole was the extreme point, right?
Yeah.
He obviously had no shame in it and would do it. So does Biddy think Dave's a madman? Absolutely. That, I don't like to speak for other people, but that I can confirm. is
Yeah.
a fact. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I never knew your mom was ever even in RTC. I mean, not that I would know. It just never occurred to me because I've never known her history. I mean, in my world, your mom appeared as WDCFLB, and I never knew anything. I guess I assume that because Ronnie, I think, has just always been at the exec strata when he was in there.
Yeah.
That the same thing was true for her. But I'm saying that because it never even occurred to me that your mom had one of those like super, super, super close up views of exactly who Miscavige is behind closed doors.
Yes.
Even to a degree that maybe other members of the Int base, even to a greater degree than other members of the Int base. And that, we've heard stories, of course, from Marty, from Mike, from Claire, from Tom DeVocht, maybe even Mark Fisher and Janice about like the gradual mental decline of David Miscavige, or behavioral decline of David Miscavige. Never even occurred to me that your mom could be a whole other point of view on that.
No, I think she could be. And if you actually, there's a famous picture of Dave on the Star California ship at Golden Air Productions.
Yeah.
Look at that picture again. Next to him is Shelly, but right behind him is my mom, Biddy. That's when she was DIG. Yeah. So when Marty was removed from post, but he was doing special projects, this is Greg Wilhair. Greg Wilhair was removed from IG and she was put on. And that's one of the reasons why I think Greg Wilhair hated me so much.
I'm going to look for the photo. Give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
If there's, how I feel about dead air. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, yeah. So, we were, one of the things is, so Biddy, when she moved through her different positions, because she was special projects, she was WDC, FLB. As Janice mentioned, she also ran the Free Winds project.
Biddy did, or
Biddy did. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Janice was the missionaire. Biddy was the one that ran the Free Winds project. Now, Biddy had quite a bit of power at that time. So I don't know if this has been mentioned. I think Janice may have mentioned it. Jenna didn't mention it yesterday, but that's fine. Biddy was the one that got the kids to the Int Ranch. So even though she wasn't the children I see in Scientology, she had enough power back in late 80s, I think 1990, to say, hey, Dave, these kids of these base staff members are down in LA. We have to go visit them all the time. I want my kids and these people's kids closer. Bring them up. Let's use the property we have at the ranch. Let's get these kids closer. Let's get them out of LA and get them so that we can see them more often. And that was Biddy that did that, just so the kids could be closer. I mean, specifically Jenna and Justin, but other people benefited because Rosemary Brown's kid, Mike Brown, got brought up. Taryn and Benjamin Rinder got brought up. I came up later. But she had she held a significant amount of power at some point and throughout her career, that she was able to do things like that, or bring Jenna to Florida because she missed her, or anything along those lines. She always kind of put a foot forward for kids, even though she wasn't there for Jenna all the time. I get that. And it was there for me the least, by the way, because I wasn't raised by her and, we only had mild interactions. But she wielded a lot of power. If you find that picture and you put it up, you'll see it. But she definitely held some power there. Always way more than Ronnie. Ronnie was marketing, and that was it.
How did that happen? How did Biddy end up in RTC, but Ronnie was always marketing exec in? Do you have any idea?
I couldn't explain Ronnie. I could explain Biddy. She was just very competent in what she did. She was a hard worker and she was wicked smart. And so in my personal opinion, I just think she was reliable and she got things done. And she may have hurt some people along the way. I wouldn't doubt that. That comes with things moving up through the Sea Org. But she was just also competent. Yeah.
Well, I thought it would be easier for me to find this particular photo because it's such a unique photo. It comes out of the High Winds magazine. I remember it was like one of the first High Winds magazine issues, I think, that came out after 1996, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to figure out different ways I can Google this. David Miscavige on a ship with I'll go captain.
Yeah.
Lil Captain. No. Captain David Miscavige.
Yeah, you should be able to find it easily. I mean, Leah even had it in one of the first 2 or 3 episodes of her show.
Oh, believe me, I've used the photo in several of my videos. Okay, here it is. Here it is.
This. Oh, I wonder if I can. I might be able to point out my my interrogator.
There you go. Okay, let me share.
Because she was obviously in
this.
RTC at the time.
Um,
That is the photo. Oh,
okay.
so I'm sorry. You'll notice closest to Dave
Why
is
it doing
actually
that on Reddit? So apparently that photo is on a Reddit thread. That's an 18 and over Reddit thread. You know what? Let me just save the photo and then I'll bring up that photo because the web click goes to Reddit.
right.
Save image as, what am I doing?
It's not a bad. That's not a bad size either. That's 1400 by 747. So
okay, let's see. So we'll go to documents, save. Okay, good. There it is. Now I can share it with y'all's. Bada boom. Okay, so this is Captain Dave long before he decided that calling him Captain Dave was an insult. Now, look, you mentioned earlier, Greg. Oh, son of a bitch.
are you trying to measure his height compared to everyone standing behind him?
You mentioned Greg Wilhair. Is this dude all the way on the left, Greg Wilhair?
That's Greg Wilhair. Yep.
And then next to him is Marty Rathbun.
And then Mike Sutter.
That's Mike Sutter?
Yep.
I always thought Mike Sutter was an old dude. He looks young.
Yeah, he was younger then.
Okay, now this right over here is Shelly Miscavige with the lieutenant commander stripes. Oh shit. That's Biddy right there.
Yep. Yeah. That is why. Now I just want to clarify something. Do you see the helm there?
When you say the helm, is that the steering wheel?
The steering wheel. Yes, the steering wheel. Well, next to the steering wheel is a 2-inch plate that's supposed to be a pseudo thing you stand on in front of the helm. Dave's standing on that, just so you know. Yeah, see?
Oh.
That's why he's the same height as my mom, because my mom's actually taller than him.
So look, Biddy in this photo is in a more prominent position than even Shelly is.
Yep.
In this photo, you're saying Biddy's post is Deputy Inspector General?
Yep.
And that's when Miscavige was still calling himself the Inspector General?
I don't know what he was calling himself then, but she was definitely DIG. She didn't carry the brevet rank though. So she just was, I mean, do I need to say anything else other than her proximity to Dave?
Right. I mean, I noticed Marty's kind of tucked away here in the back. What do you think Marty's post was back then?
I think he was just, he'd been busted. I think he'd already left once and came back. I don't remember what he was doing exactly at that moment, but
you know what? I bet he was IGMAA or DIGMAA.
Something like that.
Yeah. Wow. It never occurred to me that I totally forgot that was Biddy.
Yep. That is her.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
So she's got some wild stories.
And to be clear, that's the ship I used to take care of.
That's when you said
Star of California. I used to varnish that helm.
So it's just a fake ship, though. Like people call it a ship. It's just a patio. It's a glorified patio, right?
That's a super nice patio, though, man. Come on, I had that thing shining. Come on,
what the hell? What is it there for? What is it there for?
I was the closest to a real Sears member you could be on that property. They were all landlubbers.
They could at least have floated the ship in the pond or something. I mean.
Something, right? What was the ship for? It was just a pool before it became a, Janice has a great story about this. I did not know this until she mentioned it, but apparently L. Ron Hubbard was upset he didn't have as many spaces, and that was for the crew originally. So he ended up taking it over as an LRH space. And that's why it was underneath CMO Gold in the household unit. And I was in CMO Gold at that time. So so the crew only got to use it on Searg Day.
Hey, I just saw someone ask, where is Lou that we hear so much about? Where is she?
Lou is in that picture.
Is that her right there?
That is that's her sister. That's Fleur. So Fleur
over here on the right.
No, that's not her. I forget her name. God, we need Claire.
Do you mean this one in the middle is Larissa's sister?
No, that's Fleur Thomas. That's Larissa's sister. Yeah. Go over. Larissa must be in the back somewhere.
Why?
Like she's going to be in the first row, but in the back first row. I don't see her. She's there somewhere.
Because this is a photo not of international management, but of RTC, right?
Yes. Yep.
Huh.
That's crazy.
Okay, so we don't see Larice?
No, I don't see Larice, but she's in there somewhere. I'd have to look at the photo myself. Like
Okay.
actually pull it up big. I can't see her.
And this is probably the biggest RTC ever was, wouldn't you say?
Yep. Yeah, there's Marty McShane in the back top right corner.
I don't even know who Marty McShane is.
Oh, well, Warren McShane. Warren McShane.
Oh, wow. He wasn't even an officer? Jesus.
No, he was a CPO.
So
Yeah.
check it out, guys. How many people are in this photo? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 people. And he built a $50 million office building on the property just for RTC. And he wouldn't even let all of RTC use that building. It was really just for him.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Where is Claire? I don't know if Claire was already in RTC. No, she must have been in RTC at that time.
She might have been a trainee in Florida at this time.
Right.
This is before she got back to the main body of RTC.
Although there is a pretty young looking lady.
Not her. That's Bronwyn.
That's Bronwyn
And then,
Strube?
Bronwyn, I forgot her last name. Terrible with names, man. I'm terrible with names.
Okay.
Yeah. Bronwyn is, but again, it would be great to have Claire would know everyone in this picture.
Someone pointed out that Marty looks like he's photoshopped in, and that's funny because he absolutely looks like he's photoshopped in.
He kind of does, but I think he was there. I think he was definitely there. I mean, Shannon Komodo right here, right behind Dave, between Dave and Biddy. She's out now. The one right to the right of Dave, or left of Dave, right of Dave, right there behind. Yeah, that's Shannon Komodo. Yeah. Now scroll up because now I can see their faces better.
Okay, hold on. I got to zoom out. You guys know I'm working with the trackpad here, y'all. People keep telling me to get a mouse. I have a mouse. The button doesn't do what it's supposed to. Anyway.
No, the problem is you bought the cheap PC mouse to go with your Mac. I'm going to send you one. I have extra here.
That's true. I need to get one of those magic mouses.
Yeah.
Okay, who am I looking for here?
Well, there's Serena McKelvin up in the corner.
By the way, what does David have against people of color? There's not a single non-white person in this entire photo.
Well, there's a few Asian.
Where?
Nori Matsumuro right there to the right of Dave.
Oh, okay. He looks more like Pacific Highlander to me.
Yeah. And then Serena McKelvin's up to the right of Fleur Thomas on the right. Up right there. You're pointing at her. Ooh, left, right there. Yep, that's Serena McKelvin.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a lot of European ilk in the crowd there. He had a lot of European, actually attractive European ladies in his organization.
Was there someone else? I see Claire.
Is it?
Watch this.
I don't know. Maybe. No, not Claire. Nope.
It kind of looks like her.
I know. I wish I could tell you who everyone was. I can't. I mean, I remember all their faces, but this is this was before. I mean, a lot changed after this in RTC. A lot.
Was there anyone else in this photo?
Is on the left, up at the top.
I see him. him. Was there anyone else you were wanting me to look for here?
No, I see Jenny Sue Alexander in there, and she was a sweetheart. I think I see Jenny Sue Alexander. I even think I see Ricky Galbiati's sister in there, but
yeah.
But no, that's it. The real purpose of that was just to show. Yeah, that's where Biddy was. She was kind of write him in.
Oh, look, Hiro Kanoto. That's who you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I think that's the husband of Shannon Komodo. Kimoto. Kimmoto. Kimoto.
Yeah.
Lovely lady. Anyways, so just to wrap up, I don't know how much longer we're going on this. We can
wrap up.
No, I'm not in a rush to go anywhere, but yeah, that's the biggest trauma I dealt with, and I still deal with it. And it'll bubble sometimes, but I don't think about it though. So other than mentioning it to you and having to remember it, I don't think about it from time to time. And that's my personality. I try to, glass is half full for me. I try to do the things I love. I know that I went through this horrific childhood with a lot of bad experiences. I had some good experiences. There's no way you could be all bad. But moving forward, I try to make sure to find the things and do the things I love. And even from time to time, I'll mild depression will set in, and whatever that may be, I might be a little reclusive. I might not play as many sports, but I always go back to do the things you love, do the things that make you happy, that you enjoy the most. And so I tend to focus on that. That being said, I also am fascinated, as you know, by the SP TV channel and the networks and current news, but I don't try to make that my everyday attention, and I don't let it drag me back to the feelings I had. It's more of the joy of seeing people talk about their memories, talk about things, and in some cases seeing them smile or be happy that they're not there, or talk about, or seeing how happy Amy is, Amy Scobie, and living her life, or how happy Claire is with her children and Mark. Just seeing the good side in things is what I try to focus on.
Claire's in the chat, but there's no way for me to. Did we want to ask Claire something? We were wondering if Claire's in this photo somewhere. Sea Dog, are you in this photo?
I'm going to bet she's not, because I believe that was 1996.
But Claire was already like, I thought they were made. Claire says, hold on.
She'll know if she was in there in a second, because she would have remembered that photo shoot.
Claire says, the YouTube world called me here. And I think this is her answer to the question.
No. Yeah. See, I'm right. Yeah. I didn't think she was there yet, but she's going to know who my interrogator was. So Claire, if you're there, her name was Barbara something. She was from Boston, black curly hair, not too tall.
Oh, Claire says this photo was actually taken in 1995 before the golden age of tech came out.
Okay.
Which actually makes sense, because remember, by the time the golden age of tech was going on, Biddy was WDCFLB. She couldn't possibly have been the deputy inspector general. So do you see what I'm saying? So she would have been DIG before the evolution was in full swing, and then she would have been sent to flag as the WDCFLB.
Got it.
Claire, the question is, which RTC sec checker was assigned to Sterling when he was basically being interrogated for having here we go, Barbara Ray Kernbach?
Oof.
But would you even remember? Would you even know her last name though?
I would. No, see, if you give me the name, I'll remember. If not from Boston, no, so it wasn't Kernbach. No, I remember Barbara Kernbach. So maybe her name wasn't Barbara, but no, not Aldona. But good guess. No, not Aldona. She was tiny. No, not Aldona. I remember her because she was married to Dave Medina. This is fun. So just 40-year-old lady, older, black curly hair. She was usually cramming. I believe she used to do cramming for. She was a cramming officer for RTC, but she just happened to be the one selected to do my interrogation. And this was before Laura and all those other younger girls came to start doing interrogations, before there was really any trainees. But we'll get to it. We'll get to the bottom of it. Someone will remember. Are
you pretty sure though her name was Barbara?
I'm not sure it was Barbara anymore now that I saw Barbara Kernbach.
So Claire's saying what year?
1996.
1996.
Like if you just listed the girls that were there, her name's going to come up.
Huh.
But hey, we can answer some questions in the meantime, or wherever stage we're at. I've told my story now. So I was in grounds, and I actually ended up loving being in the trees department. I was outdoors. I was doing physical work. I was getting in shape. I had a great team that I worked with. Got my Class A license. Got to drive trucks and tractors and backhoes, and So no, not Angie Trent.
Angie Trent is one of the RTC reps that I forgot. She's the one who was married to that dude in the ship. That I have to assume that Angie Trent was always getting busted for still being married to this guy. It always struck me that it was kind of like a Claire and Mark situation where people are like, why are you married to Mark? I always assumed that people were saying that to Angie Trent. There was this guy in the ship office who always seemed like a blue collar guy. Like he's one of these guys who would always his hair was always a little disheveled. He always had his sleeves rolled up. He seemed like he'd rather be a plumber, and he would love it,
Yeah.
But I remember Angie Trent was actually one of the flag RTC reps at that. Vince Trent. Oh God, I don't remember. I remember because I worked with the guy on LOC all the time.
Did you? Yeah. I remember Angie
oh, yeah.
Trent, but I only saw her in passing.
Claire says, yeah, definitely caused Angie problems being married to Vince.
I love that she's commenting this live. That's just going. And I didn't know. Is her YouTube channel Going Claire? That is brilliant.
Claire, if you're in the studio, I'll shoot it. Here, just in case Claire's actually in the studio, I'm going to shoot her a link. If
Knowing
she
her,
wants to
this is probably right in the middle of her afternoon, and she's busy.
No, because I think she was just on with Janice.
Oh, really?
I mean, that's what they were saying in the chat.
I think Janice was interviewing her daughter today, which is going to be a good interview.
I don't know if Claire's in the office or not, but
you know, she's from Boston. I remember that. I'll never forget it. She had a Boston accent. No, I'm goofing off at work. Someone's in trouble.
Oh, Claire was just in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, no, she was from Boston, and Claire, if you remember, you're the one person I'm going to think who's going to remember her. Not
That's fine. That's fine.
But thank you for piping in. Yeah. So yeah, that was that was it. That was one of the big traumatic moments for me.
Okay. So Lance says, David Miscavige can't afford to treat people well, lest they discover that none of them need him. I think he's 100% aware and terrified of people discovering that he is the least needed in the organization. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I think I agree. I've heard people call him super smart or super intelligent. I'm like, that's not an intelligent person that could blow such a good workforce. Strategic, maybe, but that's not the same thing. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's a fine line, because you can be someone that's able to, like, I don't know, conceive and execute strategy. But I think it comes down to motivation. What's your intention? I think his intention with his workforce is to keep them scared. He must think it benefits him. Like, I don't think he's just accidentally being a horrible person. It somehow aligns with his intentions. Well, let me ask you, do you think David Miscavige genuinely wants Scientology to expand and to succeed?
I do, but I think he wants the perks and benefits to go along with it as much. The fraternizing with Tom Cruise, the flying in a private jet, all things that even Hubbard would never do. Like, it's absurd to think that someone in the Sea Org is doing that. And I've heard people give justifications like, well, the Pope would do that. Well, you know, it's a completely different scenario. The Pope also wouldn't go down to the church in Boston and order everyone around and then ruin everything, or walk in and do inspections and trash everybody either. But no, I also think he lies to himself. He's lied to himself about who and what he is for so long that he believes the lies about himself and can't change his perspective because of it. Yeah. So I think he believes when he beats someone or when he finds that person out, he's truly doing something good, maybe. And that justifies the fact that he really can't control his temper. Yeah. So close.
Hera O'Hare?
Looks like her, but that would have been a great guess. No, no, she's from Boston. That's the only key clue I can give you.
And do you know she's from Boston just from her accent?
Yes, and she talked about it. She talked about it with me.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
someone out there knows.
Someone's got it.
You know, I have this guess about Miscavige, but my guess is handicapped by the fact that I truly don't know what he was like as a younger person and a younger Sea Org member, because my guess is that he knows that if people knew the truth, his position would be insecure. Yeah. If people knew that he's not the one Hubbard wanted to take over, it would jeopardize his position. Yeah. If people knew that the international statistics were downtrending for a couple generations now, his position would be insecure. Him holding his position is so intertwined with lying to all Scientologists that I think he sees honest, hardworking, genuine people as a threat to him personally even though he would love for Scientology to be expanding. I think he just doesn't know how to bring it about. And he's threatened by honest, hardworking people. But I'm just pulling that out of my ass, you know?
I don't think there's anything wrong about that conjecture. I mean, he also, let's think about this. Sans the internet, he would have gotten away with it up until this point. The internet is what's killed him. YouTube, the fact that information is already available, because everyone could write. You could have 25 people write a book about him. It's still only going to be the ex-Scientology, and some other people are going to look at it. But now you have a format like this. It's out. I mean, you can't not help but talk about it. And you can research it now, too. You can find the autopsy report on L. Ron Hubbard and find out that he had drugs in his system. You can do any of these things. And there's no way to control that anymore. So his position is in danger. You can also have the lawsuit or the criminal prosecution of Danny Masterson because of this. You can have the support that goes along with it, the pressure put on people due to social media that actually is going to maybe affect the change that we need to take away their tax-exempt status. Because minimally, that's what should be done. I argue the other way. I think the IRS should give any ex-Sea Org member a pass on taxes the rest of their life, since they subsidize an organization that enslaved us for so many years. That's what I would like, but that's
I'd vote for that.
That's asking for that. I know. That's asking.
I'll tell you what you just mentioned about people and information being so accessible on YouTube as opposed to just behind the covers of a book or just in a documentary or just in a TV show is honestly why I'm so excited about Jenna, you, I'm crossing my fingers, Justin, Biddy, and etc. having channels, not because everyone's going to come on here and be like, let me tell my story all the time. It's not for that. It's for the accessibility. It's when you're on YouTube, you're accessible to the entire world and nobody can do a damn thing about it. So like, for example, I do topic videos. I do current event videos. Not everyone's going to do that. I don't expect you guys to want to do that. But how amazing it would be if you, Jenna, Justin, Biddy, etc. are like, you know what? 3 hours a week, I'm going to turn on my computer, live Q&A. Like there's no agenda. It's not, oh, I'm here to talk about this. I'm here to tell this story. No. Just a Q&A. I'm accessible to the world. Anybody can ask me anything they want. That is David Miscavige's worst fucking nightmare.
Right.
He loves it when it's just in a book. He loves it when it's just in a documentary or a TV show. YouTube, you're accessible to everyone. That's what he's afraid about.
You're always one click away from
one click away.
Yeah.
And then people get to know you. People get to be like, oh, this dude's legit. This dude's for real. This dude's not putting on a show. He's not guarded. He's not whatever. He's clearly not just someone with an axe to grind. Scientology is the one who's able to frame everyone and mischaracterize everyone and put everything out of context when people aren't accessible,
Right.
And, even great shows like the Aftermath show. I mean, well, you didn't sit. I interviewed for 2 days straight. You're going to end up with just 25 minutes of content.
Right.
The content was fantastic, but you don't really know who the people are. You just know a part of their story.
Right.
People start getting on YouTube. All of a sudden, people know who you are. David Miscavige's fear is that the Scientologists in the world are going to be able to tune in and go, that's Biddy fucking Miscavige?
Right.
That was DIG? Oh my God. The world's never been able to access Biddy Miscavige.
And they're going to mentally ask the questions that they need to be asking to start to erase the cognitive dissonance they need to erase to get to the point where they're like, wait a second, it can't, because guess what? It can never all not be true. At some point, a percentage of it has to be true. And even if that small percentage is true, something's wrong, and you have to acknowledge that eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and could you imagine, God forbid, I know there's, it gets complicated and there's some politics in play, but could you imagine if Suzette Hubbard or Arthur Hubbard or Roanne Hubbard started doing live Q&As on fucking YouTube? David Miscavige would be out of a job. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think I'm completely exaggerating. If the world is like, oh my God, these guys are for real. These guys exist. I think most people don't even understand that these people exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
again, back to, if you see how many people have left, how many people that were either L. Ron Hubbard's family. I mean, there was even a conversation once between Justin and a close Hubbard friend he has about how, hey, Justin, your family fucked my family on this whole thing. And we were doing it out of jest and a joke, but it's a little true. You know what I mean? Like, hey, dicks, you completely screwed the whole thing up. Not to mention what they did to, L. Ron Hubbard's family about not giving them any money. That's ridiculous. Well, they gave him a little money, but any money compared to what the dude had. And I even got, I've talked to Arthur. I used to work for Arthur when I was a kid. I was his page. I used to run and get him coffees, and then in between getting coffees, he had comic books for his research on art, because he was an artist. He used to do cover art for the books and different stuff. I would just get to sit there and read comics all day long in the penthouse of the main building. And then I go fetch coffee for him. And then at the end of the day, he'd be like, hey, you want to go see a movie? And he'd hop on the back of his Honda motorcycle and he'd take me to go see movies. You know what I mean? Nicest guy in the world. So,
hey, Sterling,
fun. Yeah.
Claire's asking, was it Sue Johnson?
No, so close.
She says crew lists are flashing through her mind right now.
I know. She's going to get it. And it's going to be like, bing, there it is.
Sterling,
the cramming officer. She was a cramming officer for RTC.
The idea. Okay, hold on. Let me bring up Mitch's comment here. Mitch Brisker. Aaron, I completely disagree. If the public knew the truth, it would make no difference. Scientologists are blindly in love with Miscavige. They will never believe their lying eyes. Well, Mitch, I know I know where you're coming from. But the truth, the evidence to me that that's not completely true is just people are leaving Scientology every day. Now we can say, well, that's not because of anything they think about David Miscavige. That's probably because someone treated them horribly and they think it's just the local ethics officer. All I'm saying is people are leaving Scientology. And if it's not because they're learning the truth, then what is it? I don't know. I just feel like more information can't not be part of the answer. Sterling, the idea of descendants of L. Ron Hubbard telling current living descendants of L. Ron Hubbard, telling members of David Miscavige's family, your family really fucked us. That is the funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
Oh, I wish you had recorded the whole conversation. It was pretty good. Pretty good. It had something to do with my Bigfoot brother. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Oh, can I thank Mitch? By the way, this whole setup, the lighting and the framing, Mitch helped me out with.
Is that why he was complimenting you in the comments about your framing?
Did he say that? Yes, that is why. Yes, that is why.
He was complimenting his good work.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Nice.
Thank you, Mitch. No, there's so many more interesting conversations to have. I ended up in Saudi Arabia for 5 years.
I'd love to pick your brain about that.
And it's so funny because it's the furthest from Scientology you could possibly be. And when I got there, I realized that. And also, ironically, I actually visited the real Mecca. Not Scientology's Mecca, the real Mecca, which I didn't know existed because I thought Scientology had some sort of right to that word Mecca. I actually thought it was a Scientology word for the longest time.
I remember the first time I saw some sticker or some license plate that said, "What would Jesus do?" I thought they stole it from Scientology. Oh, because they say, "What would Ron do?" What would Ron do? I was like, they stole our thing.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't that funny?
That's great. Yeah, because you don't realize that, right? In a bubble, you don't realize some of the things. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, I'm watching this show on Apple TV called Foundation. I
watched the first season.
It starts slow. It gets good. It's a little strange, but in one of the episodes, the Empire says, "Watch out for those memory engrams." And so I right away I go to my computer. I'm like, when was this book written? It was written in 1942 to 45.
But Sterling, engram is a real word.
No, I know, but did Hubbard use it because Asimov used it? Is my question. Is it just another scenario of him borrowing?
I got vernacular. Does the only reason Hubbard even knew what the word was is because another science fiction author already used it?
Yes, that was what I was thinking.
Oh, shit.
It just occurred to me for a second. I'm like, I wonder, because I didn't know that before, and I now know that he borrowed a lot of this stuff.
Wow.
and compile it in a way that made sense. And you know, that story's been told a million times. But yeah, it made me wonder. And so you get that every once in a while. You're like, oh, I wonder if, you know, I wonder where that came from, or where he got that concept, or whatever it may be. He gets, you know, he goes crazy.
Do you think if Roanne started doing a channel, and I don't have any reason to believe that she would, we're talking about Roanne Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard's granddaughter. Do you think if she started a channel, they would make Diana leave the Sea Org, or do you think Diana would disconnect from her? Just your personal guess.
I couldn't tell you. I
Okay.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know that relationship enough. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how tight or how far apart that is to answer that accurately.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was her father, it would be a different scenario, but he's left. So I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. I'd be speaking out of place. I wouldn't be able to give you a answer that I thought I had enough knowledge about to.
Yeah, no, I get it. Anyway, tell your Bigfoot brother it'd be nice to get some proof of his existence one of these days.
Or a proof of life. If I got a picture of him and Shelly together, maybe that would help.
No, he should come and do a chat with us. We should have a little fireside chat one of these days. It'd be so much fun.
He's all nasally right now, so it would work perfect with yeah. We give him some gum and stuff like that.
All right, cool, man. Hey, let's do. No, we're out of questions.
Oh, you didn't put up any good ones.
Any good ones? My God.
The nerve to question my questions.
Oh. You know what? I can. Okay, who's got?
No, that's all right. You don't have to. I'm good. We've been here for a while, and I actually skipped lunch. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned that Wednesday tends to be a good day for you. Oh, when we do this in the future, if you want, we can live stream it to your channel as well.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of work to do on that to figure out how to do that, but I think a week I should be able to do it.
That's what I'm here for, dude.
I know. I'll call
set it up for you in 5 minutes.
Tech support. I've already started looking into all that, and
Sterling, it would take 5 minutes. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. The first time you turn on live streaming on your channel, they put you on a 24-hour hold.
Okay.
So, like, if you literally, it's like the click of a button.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what I can do? I can send you this video file if you want to put this video on your channel.
Okay, good. I'll do that. That'd be a first one. And I'm trying to figure out the banner. I'm really good with Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, but making the banner the exact right size so that it fits properly on the YouTube channel is a nightmare.
Oh, for real?
For real.
Okay.
Like, I have put it at all the pixel levels it could possibly be, because it's the title, the little sun emoji, and then a picture of a wave.
Okay.
So if you don't see the wave, it just looks like water. I mean, anyone can put water up. It's boring.
Before we do
that, and so to handle fill in the dead space here, I had my my favorite aunt call me up, and she wanted me to clarify something. I said in a recent video that I don't talk to Foster. That is a factual statement.
But your dad is still in the your dad Foster's still in the Sea Org, right?
He has disconnected from me. I don't talk to him, but not by my choice. And she wanted me to make sure I clarified that.
Oh, that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
But also he's in the Sea Org. How would you? He's disconnected from you, right?
Exactly. If he reached out to me tomorrow, I would talk to him a second. If I called him, he wouldn't pick up the phone.
Right.
That's.
I got to tell you, I just had a really hard time finding your channel in a YouTube search. I had to go back and click on the link you texted me. So that might be impacting your ability to get more subs here. Just letting you know.
What could I change to?
No. Once you actually have some stuff on here, it'll be easy for. Oh shit! I've been spelling your name wrong. There's no H in your name.
No, there's no H in my name.
Dude, I've spelled your name wrong in every one of our videos.
I know, but I'm not that grammar guy that's going to mess with you because of that. Someone else commented.
Grammar. That's not grammar.
That's all right. I didn't bug me. Everyone does it.
Dude, you got it. Okay. This is Sterling's channel, guys. Jump over there. Give Sterling some YouTube love. And yeah, it'd be so cool once you have live streaming set up. Let's try to do this every week until we run out of shit to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think we ever will, because at some point we can just talk about you're fun to talk to, you're a great interviewer, and we could just talk about we talk about our favorite movies and how they relate. I got to talk about 1984 and the first time I read that and how I was blown away and how it was clear why we would never get to read that book when we were inside the church.
Do you like reading, science fiction, fantasy stuff?
No, I don't. I've only. Oh, we almost forgot our subjects that Aaron and I disagree or agree on.
What the fuck do we disagree
on? No, remember your KR writing, your finger, your happy finger.
Oh yeah.
I would have killed you if I was there. No, you mentioned that you like L. Reich fiction.
Well, I actually I really like the Mission Earth series. I really
Love
like
the Mission
Battlefield
Earth
Earth. I'll say that.
Love the Mission Earth series. Love the Mission Earth series. Read it so many times. Listen to the audiobooks. That's something we agree on. I don't care if it's bad writing. Yeah.
Andrew Humphrey. I cannot scroll up in the comments looking for a question. Like, just re-put your question. I mean, I see 5 questions of you asking why your question didn't get asked, but if I have to scroll up, that's going to be the reason why your question doesn't get asked. So just post your question and I'll ask it. Andrew Humphrey even super chatted. I had a question. Well, I see your super chat, but I don't see the question. You see what I'm talking about? Home skillet.
Now I'm really wondering what this question is because yeah, the suspense is killing me. Anyways,
I
did love Mission Earth as well.
Ron Mowgli says Battlefield Earth was one of my favorite books. Well, you know who else said Battlefield Earth was one of their favorite books? Mitt Romney actually said that Battlefield Earth is. He said it in an interview unprompted. Like, what's your favorite book? He said Battlefield Earth, and he was not kidding.
And he wasn't talking about the election, huh?
I'm still waiting for this damn question.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere until it answers because now.
Oh, you know what? There was a couple super chats that just weren't appropriate, and I didn't ask them. So I guess that was yours, Andrew. There you go.
Can you go back to him or no? Is that
I'm not going to. I didn't ask it for a fucking reason.
Okay. Well, we'll see how much subs I get. Otherwise, it's been a fun conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm not leading. Sorry, I'm not taking us out of this. This is you. You're the newsroom guy.
We're 2 hours. You want to keep going? God,
I'll keep going. I just have something I got to be at a little bit later, but you know.
All right, let's see. Mr. Silver Trumpet. Reese mentioned in your discussion with Reese was that every auditing session is recorded. Can an individual legally obtain a copy of their sessions, even though they have signed a waiver stating they can't? Mr. Silver Trumpet, the answer is no. Those things, the answer to your question is no, because of all the documents that you've signed relinquishing your right to any of that. And
even if you got a subpoena to get it, they've erased it before you'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So yeah, I saw the question, what would Scientology be like if someone other than David Miscavige was running it? I'm just not interested in having that conversation. It's not necessarily pertinent. It's not why I'm talking to Sterling.
Yeah.
We've answered the question a gajillion times.
Normally, there's a bunch of debates. Yeah.
Normally on my Q&As, I don't actually care if it's a question that's been answered. It's just not relevant to this discussion. That's all. No offense. Right. No offense. No. Let me see. There is a reason I was trying to dip. Yeah. Oh, because my oldest daughter's been waiting for me to go help her with something, and I told her I was.
You got it. No problem, man. We've been here for a while, so you're all
as
good.
Soon as I was done with this stream, I was going to go help her with it. I feel like I'm being mean to Andrew. I don't mean to be mean, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point I'll mention something about that on an interview, but I don't have any different answer than's already been discussed in a number of videos. In fact, I agree emphatically with it. If the question was simply, would it be better without Dave? Probably, but still not ideal. But yeah.
Toads. All right, guys. One last plug for Sterling's channel, Sterling Tompkins. I'm now gonna have to go back and rename all of my videos to correct the spelling of your name. I can't believe I'm getting it wrong this whole time.
And can I make anything more obvious to find it? But I guess my title's a little long. I mean, shit. I'm the only Sterling Tompkins in the world.
It literally could just be because I've been spelling it wrong.
Okay, that's good.
And also, you only have one video on your channel, so the algorithm's gonna, the more stuff we get up on there, the better it'll turn out.
Jenna had no videos and just her name and got 6,000 in 16 seconds.
I know.
Now I'm trying to achieve a higher goal. I get I've set the bar pretty high, but hey, I went from 4 to 385. My stats are up, so let's just bit and piece this later.
That's right.
Yeah,
you're in power for the week. We'll call it power, even though it's really affluence. That's right. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us this afternoon. As always, thank you to everyone who watches until the very end. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.